happen? Why is it that I want change so badly, but I just can't seem to do it? I can't seem to get there. And the reality is, it's because you're using your conscious mind to try and change your actions and behaviors. But your subconscious identity, it contradicts those desires. You know, most people don't realize that your subconscious mind, it actually controls 90 to 95% of the decisions that you make in your entire day. I mean, think about it. When you wake up, are you thinking about which hand you're going to use to lift the sheets up? Which side you're going to get up on? Which foot you're going to use when you land out of bed? No, of course not. They don't happen consciously, they happen subconsciously. And another example of this is, have you ever been like after work or something, you're tired, you start driving home, and you're in traffic, and then you zone out, and all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, you just pull up to your home and you're like, how the heck did I get here? I wasn't consciously driving. And you're right, you weren't consciously driving, but your subconscious mind took over. Make no mistake, your subconscious mind, it dictates your actions. And the very select few who realize this simple truth, well, those are the entrepreneurs that break past 6 figures. Those are the entrepreneurs that hit 7 figures. Another way you can kind of look at this is, did you smoke a cigarette today? I'm gonna guess no. Well, why didn't you? It's because on a subconscious level, you aren't a cigarette smoker, and thus you didn't smoke. You know, this is actually why people become wealthy. It's because in their mind, on the subconscious level, on their subconscious identity, they are a wealthy person. And thus, their actions effortlessly lead to that reality. The National Endowment for Financial Education states that 70% of lottery winners, they end up going broke after a few years after winning this large sum of money. And it's kind of crazy because some of them, they won $200 million. And you'd think they'd be set for life, right? But somehow they managed to lose it all. Now, why does this happen? Well, it's because their subconscious identity is still poor, and thus their actions lead to that reality. So I think by now you realize that focusing on changing your actions and behaviors, it's a losing game, and that the more powerful place to operate from is reprogramming your subconscious identity to that of a winner. But how do you do this? Well, the reality is your subconscious mind, it works strictly through repetition and habits. Now, the crazy thing is your subconscious mind, it sees every habit that you have as a survival mechanism, which is why it's so hard to break. And if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes sense. I mean, think back to when we were hunters and gatherers. Let's say we went to go look for water and we're trekking through the forest or whatever, and we get to that water, there's no danger, no predators, no animals. Well, what happens is it gives us this sense of safety. So then we keep going back on that same path, because why would we go off and wander a different path where we don't know if there's predators? So we keep going on the same path, and every single time that we go on that path and come back safely, well, our subconscious sees like, okay, well, we're safe there 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and every time it's seen this as a necessity for your survival. Obviously in the modern day society, we don't have to worry about the survival mechanism, but our brain, it still sees it as a survival mechanism. Essentially, habits, they give us a false sense of safety. But look, I know you're probably thinking, well, okay, Adam, that's cool that habits work that way, but still, how do I reprogram my subconscious identity? And the answer is, and again, there's no way around it. It comes down to enforced action. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, Adam, this is kind of BS. Like, I've been trying to do enforced action to change my actions and behaviors, and it doesn't work. And that's because, again, you're focusing on the actions and behaviors and not who you are being. Because frankly, let me tell you, you're not being a committed person, otherwise you'd get the results you want in your life. You're not truly committed, or you haven't been, I should say. So I want to ask you, are you ready to commit to becoming the unbreakable 7-figure CEO? Now, before you answer that question, let me ask you another question. How are you going to feel in 3, 6, or 9 months from now if you don't change anything? If your business is still exactly where it is now, if you're still stuck living by your circumstances, still stuck, unable to take consistent action. Unless you commit right now, your life is going to stay exactly how it is right now. Except that deep feeling in your gut that's telling you that you're on the wrong path in life, it's going to continue growing like a tumor. If you keep operating from the same place where you let your emotions dictate your actions, you're going to keep getting the same results. There's no way around it. So if you want to get different results, you have to operate a different way. You gotta stop focusing on your actions and behaviors. Focus on who you are being. Now, as I mentioned in week 2 through 5, we're focusing on ways of being. These ways of being that high performers use, Elon Musk and Mark Cuban. So if you want to get results like them, you have to operate like them. There's no way around it. You know what? Let me tell you a quick little story. So one of my past students, Steven, he owns a fitness apparel brand and he was stuck at 10K a month. Now, he said in his own words, a lot of it was due to fear and self-doubt. He really doubted he could get up to that next level. But I started talking to him and really started to understand what the issue was, because he was telling me, he's like, well, Adam, I have this motivation for a week in business, it goes great, you know? He's like, it's all flourishing. I'm coming up with new designs. We have shows we're signing up for, and we're getting a lot of sales. But then the motivation, it fades away. And I was like, all right, well, let me ask you, are you committed to your business? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, let me ask you another thing. Have you been committed to your business? He's like, yeah, I've sacrificed, I quit my job, I've done a lot of things, I'm committed to my business and its success. And I told him, just flat out, I was like, sorry, but you haven't been committed to your business. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, when you are committed to your business, you don't let your circumstances dictate your actions. And frankly, if you don't overcome those times where you're tired and lazy, then you're not committed to your business. You're committed to complacency. And I told him another way to look at this is you're always committed. It's just a matter of what you're committed to. And at this point, he got pretty upset, not gonna lie, or at least a little triggered, started lashing out a little bit. And so I brought up the example. I said, look at Elon Musk. You know, the guy runs 3 multi-billion-dollar businesses. Tesla, Neuralink, SpaceX. Oftentimes, he gets only 3 hours of sleep a day. So I asked him, I was like, Steven, do you think that you're more tired than Elon Musk? And he's like, well, no, I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. And I was like, okay, well, why is it that Elon Musk can push through those times when he's not feeling good, but you aren't able to? What separates you from him? And then in this moment, it kind of dawned on him. He's like, okay, I see your point. Elon Musk is committed to his businesses. He's truly committed, and his actions reflect that. Because when you are committed, you don't live by your circumstances. You get results. You find solutions. And so once that lesson really sunk into Steven, well, I'm going to tell you, in 3 months of working with him, and once he started becoming committed is when that switch happened. And in 3 months, he 3x'd his monthly revenue to just 30K. All because he was committed. The moral of the story is that if you want to become the unbreakable 7-figure CEO, then you must be committed, just like Elon Musk is. So with that being said, I want you to go proof that you are committed by downloading this week's lesson, completing it, and sending it to me. And again, I have to keep noting this. I know I'm probably sounding like a parrot that just keeps repeating myself, but you must implement these lessons into your day-to-day life. Now, for being committed, what we're gonna have you do is, in this worksheet, you're gonna be making new commitments. And as you go throughout your day, just make sure you're not breaking those commitments. Make sure that your actions align with those commitments. Because I'm gonna tell you now, if you let even one time slip you, one time pass you by, or you break your commitments once, you're gonna fall back into your old patterns and ruts. And look, guys, you can look back at your own life and find countless of examples of times you let your commitment break once, and it's going down a slippery slope until you're back into your old patterns and ruts. And frankly, that shows that you're not committed, because if you're committed, you make shit happen. So look, right now, you have to decide if you're committed to this program or if you're committed to a complacent life where you let your emotions dictate your actions. Because the reality is, it's one or the other. Now, before you decide which route you're gonna take, let me ask you a question. How are you gonna feel in 5, 10, or 15 years from now if you don't change anything? How are you gonna feel about yourself? And are you being the role model you want your spouse, children, and loved ones to see? Look, they deserve better. You deserve better. And the only way for you to do better is by being better, by being a committed person. But look, don't just nod your head and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna be committed. You have to understand what this really entails. Because when you're truly committed to your goals, you instantly eliminate your internal battles because your actions are no longer negotiable. It's no longer a matter of dang, I'm tired. Should I go work out today? It's, dang, I'm tired. This workout, it might be a little bit more tough today. It's almost like you have to act like you're going to die if you don't do the things you tell yourself you do. What I'm trying to say is like you have to switch how your perspective, your attitude, and your mental frame from if or should I do this to this is happening no matter what. And then the next thing you have to realize is you are going to have those times, those moments of weakness where you feel tired, lazy, and unmotivated. But you have to simply execute no matter what, because that's what commitment is. And commitment is the only way for you to break the vicious cycle that's kept you stuck for so long. And you're the only one that can make the switch to be a committed person. All I can do is guide you and hold you accountable, but it's up to you to put in the work. It's like the old verbiage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Simply put, you are 100% responsible for all the results in your life. After I got stabbed, I struggled to do the things that I needed to do to get my life back on track. I'm talking about physical therapy exercises, speech therapy, normal therapy, going on walks, eating healthy, all of this stuff. It sucked because I desperately wanted the change. I wanted to improve myself in my life, but I could never execute them when it came time to do it. I felt like something was wrong with myself. But then I talked to my mentor and he's taught me the lesson of commitment. Essentially the same stuff that I'm now teaching you. And it was like something switched in my brain, like a flip was switched. I no longer had those internal battles. It was no longer a daily question of, oh, what am I gonna be doing today? Am I gonna go work out? It was like, no, I'm going to go on my walks. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to do my speech therapy exercises. And when this became my mental frame, well, that's when things started being effortless. I started just doing it day after day. What I noticed was the first 15 days, it was a little bit more tough. While I simply did it like that, I could tell there was still some hesitation inside of me. I wouldn't want to say like an internal battle to execute them, but I felt like a little bit of resistance, right? That's what a habit does to you. Now, after 30 days, it became very freaking neutral to the point where it's actually easier for me to perform that new action than it was to not do it. And after 60 days, all those new actions, they became second nature to me. I was eating healthy effortlessly, waking up, doing my speech therapy exercises, doing my physical therapy exercises, and guess what? After 9 months of being stabbed and being broken in the ICU, legs not working, I ran a 4:59 mile. I was putting up more weight in the gym than I ever had, and I was just feeling better than I ever have. All because I became committed to the goals in the life that I want. And the same will happen to you too. Now, besides being committed, there's actually another way of being that is absolutely essential for you to successfully defeat your procrastination, quickly develop consistency, and effortlessly do the things that you know you need to do without falling back into your old self-sabotaging patterns again. So I'm gonna play another quick video here that will elaborate on this way of being. Check it out, here it is. What is this way of being that we are going to cover? And it is being integral. Now, look, when I say integrity, I know you're probably thinking, well, okay, that means do to others what you want done to yourself. And while that is a big portion of this lesson, I also want you to focus on self-integrity. What that really entails is doing the things that are in your best interest, like keeping your word to yourself. You see, most people get to a point in their life where they get in the habit of not keeping their word to themselves. And when this happens, well, you already know it happens. I mean, we talked about it briefly last week. When you're in the habit of not keeping your word to yourself, you can't create change in your life. Because anytime you strive for that change, well, guess what? You're gonna fall back into your old patterns and ruts. And when this happens, it diminishes your confidence. Not just like your confidence in general, but within yourself. because you're teaching yourself that you aren't to be trusted. I mean, do you trust other people who break their word to you? I mean, let's say that maybe you had a friend and you've been trying to get lunch with them for like a few months, but every single time when you make plans with them, like the day before or the day of, they cancel. Well, obviously you don't trust them. You know not to value their word. And how does that change your perspective on them? How do you perceive them? Obviously, lesser. Well, the same thing happens to you even when you don't keep your word to yourself. That's the same lesson you're teaching yourself. You aren't to be trusted. And it all started because you weren't being an integral person. But look, the reality is, not being an integral person, it's gonna have a much more harmful effect on your life than just having your friends and your clients view you as a lesser person. It's gonna do much worse than diminishing your self-esteem, because it's gonna stop you from hitting all your goals in life. I mean, what would your business look like right now if you kept your word to prospect every single day? What would your body look like if you kept your word from last year to work out? How much better would your relationships be if you kept your word to consistently text people or call them every single day? And how would all this change in yourself affect how you feel about yourself? You see, when you are not being an integral person, well, that means you're going to be letting your emotions dictate your actions. And as you likely know, that's living by your circumstances. I mean, your emotions are a roller coaster. So if you're relying on times when you feel good, you feel energized, you feel motivated to dictate you getting actions you want, that's a broken formula. And look, I don't even need to expand on this. You can look at your own life and see that it hasn't been working for you. Otherwise, frankly, you wouldn't be here watching this video right now. As I mentioned, we want these ways of being, like being integral or being an integral person, we want that to be a part of your subconscious identity. So again, another way to look at this is we want you to get in the habit of being an integral person. Now, one way I like to look at this is your habits, they are a double-edged sword. You're either strengthening the habit that you want and weakening the habit that you don't want, or you're strengthening the habit that you don't want and weakening the habit that you do want. So the next time you're in that weak moment, that moment where you're tired, you're exhausted, you're not feeling good, and you're on the verge of not being an integral person, you have to stop and think about that. You have to realize that this is how habits work. They might be tough in the beginning, because frankly, you may be 21 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. Well, you've likely formed the habit of not being an integral person, of not keeping your word to yourself. So you have years of this habit, and at first it might be difficult. But if you're 100% committed, well then you're gonna find that after 30 days, it's gonna be really easy for you to stick to your word. After 60 days, it's practically effortless. And after 90 days, it becomes a part of your subconscious identity. And when this happens, well, guess what? It's gonna be harder for you to not keep your word to yourself than it is to keep your word to yourself. You know, I'd say that this is the one most powerful habit that I've ever formed in my entire life. Because frankly, I used to be at a point where you're likely at right now, where you let your emotions, your motivation, all these circumstances dictate your actions. What happened was, like, tasks that would take me 5 to 10 minutes, they would take me an hour. And when this happened, my business was just stuck. I just wasn't accomplishing what I should do, you know? It felt like it took a full week to accomplish 1 day of work. But then I started working with my mentor, and he taught me this lesson that I'm now teaching you. I focused on being a person of integrity. And for 90 days, I just kept focusing on building this habit. And after 90 days, I was sticking to my word like glue. You know, I remember my favorite meal is steak and veggies. Like, I just love it. It's so delicious to me. And one of my least favorite meals is seafood. Frankly, I grew up, didn't like it. Now, the issue is that seafood, it has a lot of the nutrients that I really need for optimal performance. I remember one time after 90 days of being an integral person, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have seafood for dinner. And so that was my whole plan. And right when I was about to start cooking, my roommate, he literally, I kid you not, he goes, I have extra steak and veggies if you want some. And he knew it was my favorite meal. I was like, oh my God, like, I want that so badly. You know, it looked delicious, smelled good, I wouldn't have to cook. But I told myself I was having seafood that night. So guess what I did? I had seafood, I cooked up that meal, and I did what was best for me. Because I realized if I didn't have seafood, I wasn't being an integral person. Now, I'm not saying that the whole moral of the story here is that you're gonna be able to eat the food you want. But the point I'm trying to get across here is that when I was being an integral person, my business, it grew. My business turned into like a fire that was being lathered in gasoline where it was rapidly expanding. I started getting 3x my monthly income. I started profoundly just creating more impact in other people's lives. Before this point, I had worked with like 5 clients. I was like, at the time I was selling low ticket courses, like little challenges and stuff. But then after those 90 days, I was getting like 5 new clients a freaking week. And so it really had a profound effect on my business. And it honestly is the reason why I'm in front of you right now. I can say without a shred of doubt, if I wasn't being an integral person these past few years, I would not be here in front of you. Now, one mistake that I often see people make, or at least that I fell victim to, I should say, is they don't really think things through. So when they tell themselves that they're gonna do something, or they tell other people that they're gonna do X, Y, and Z, they don't really think of how that's gonna play out in their life. So then when the day comes to actually do that activity, they're like, shoot, I shouldn't have told myself or told other people that I was gonna do this. It's not beneficial to my life, to my business. So then you get into that predicament. You're like, well, okay, what's more important? Being productive in my business or keeping my word to myself? And if you're wise, you're gonna choose keeping your word to yourself. In fact, let me tell you a quick little story here. So one day I was out grabbing a beer with my friend, and we're in my hometown. And of course, you know what happens. You see people from your high school. And I remember this guy, Brett, he came up to me and he was like, hey man, like, haven't seen you in forever. He obviously had a few beers in him, whatever. And we started making small talk for 1 to 2 minutes. I freaking hate small talk, but we were making it. And then he was like, dude, we gotta hang out this week. And I had a beer in me too, so I was like, oh, I'll try to be polite. I was like, oh yeah, dude, sounds good. Like, I'll hit you up. When I got home, I was like, God dang it, I don't wanna hang out with that guy. I never even hung out with him in high school. But I was in the predicament now. I was like, I gave my word to myself and him that I'd hit him up. But I was like, am I really gonna waste 3 or 4 hours hanging out with this guy that I don't really wanna hang out with? And fortunately, I texted him and asked if he wanted to hang out. And even more fortunately, he didn't respond to me. So it turned out to be the most ideal situation ever because I kept my word to myself. And that's all that matters. Him not responding was just cherry on top. Didn't have to waste my time. So for you, I want you to think through the things you tell yourself you're going to do, or the things you tell others that you're going to do, so that you don't have to face this dilemma where it almost feels like you're losing one way or the other. Everyone has big hopes and dreams to become a better version of themselves, and this probably includes you. You have this idea of who you should be, and you make a plan and start to take action. The problem is that it's so easy to lose hope and motivation when you don't see quick results. In fact, you've probably already experienced that vicious cycle, which is why you're here watching this video right now. But trust me, you're not the only one who's watched your dreams die, keeping you stuck in the same place where you aren't happy or constantly feel like you're not accomplishing enough in life. And the sad thing is that most people are just one small tweak and realization away from changing that pattern forever. You see, as humans, we love to form patterns or get in a rhythm. It's how humans operate. That's why you likely drive the same route to work every day, wake up at the same time, have the same morning routine, and so on. And knowing this one thing can literally make or break that vicious cycle which has kept you stuck for so long. The switch is easy. It's easier than you might think. The one thing you're missing is self-integrity, but most people don't even realize it's missing. How much would your life change right now if you kept your word to yourself? It's literally that simple. You likely keep your word to other people, so why are you not doing it to yourself? And how is that helping you? You see, when you lose self-integrity, you start to form a pattern that keeps you stuck. It becomes a very slippery slope. You think because you missed the gym that one day, or because you had a cheat meal, that it's not a big deal to miss another day or cheat another time, because next week is when you'll get back on track. But then next week rolls around and you fall into your old behaviors, and that change we strive for never occurs. And it all started because you can't keep your word to yourself, even though you're able to keep it to other people. Now, I'm not saying mistakes never happen, because we're all human and we all fall for integrity every now and then. But what would your life look like if you recognized when you messed up and immediately took action to get back on your commitment and reinstated that self-integrity back into your life? Take a look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you think he ever missed a day at the gym or had a cheat meal that he didn't plan? Of course he did. But the difference between him and you is that after his derail, he took action to get back on his plan. His word to himself was one of the most valuable things in his life, and it caused him to change his life forever, and it can change yours too. We all have this amazing potential to become the person we dream of being. It's those little decisions to take action in the future that keep you trapped in your current situation. But being able to recognize when you messed up and to correct that mistake is what will keep you from who you are now to who you want to become. So, if you're the type of person who'd rather choose complacency instead of self-integrity, I can't help you. But if you're the type of person who values their word over failure, then I can help you. One thing that I want to mention is you may have moments of weakness and slip up every now and then. And that's okay, you're human. But it's imperative that you immediately reinstate your integrity by getting back on track. Because once is an accident, right? But twice, that's a choice. A choice that will lead you to a very dark place where you don't fully love yourself and you're always wrapped up in your own problems. Now, it's extremely crucial that if you do fall out of integrity, don't beat yourself up over it, because that adds a negative experience to you performing these actions, which profoundly decreases the chances of you performing them again. You know, think about it this way. Let's say that there was this person, John, and every time you walked by him, you were walking to the store, you saw John, he ran to you and just hit you in the face. Well, obviously, you're gonna start avoiding John because of that bad experience. Well, your brain subconsciously, it does the same when you've had bad experiences, when trying to form new habits. Let's say that if every time you tell yourself that you're gonna work out and you don't, you call yourself stupid or weak or pathetic and you dwell over it for hours. Well, it creates a very bad experience that lodges into your limbic system, which is essentially the part of your brain that stores your very highly emotional memories. This is just a very fancy way of saying that basically you have this memory in your brain, and your brain, it automatically goes, well, if we don't even try working out, we won't have these negative experiences where we beat ourselves up. And thus, your motivation to work out, well, it fades like the sun at the end of your day. And it's harder to change your actions. In fact, I'm willing to bet that this has happened to you time and time again. Do you often quit even trying to change your actions after 1 to 2 weeks of failing at it? If not, this is a strong indicator that your negative mental experiences have been weighing you down like an anchor. So it's imperative to your success that you stop beating yourself up over past mistakes in your life, okay? Because that's going to enable you to get back on track and successfully change your actions, your behaviors, and your life. Plus, can you name me just one way that beating yourself up is helping you live a better quality life? No, because there simply isn't one benefit. It lowers your chances of changing, drains your mental energy, and diminishes your confidence, self-worth, and self-love. So why are you doing it? And you might say, oh, it just happens automatically. But ultimately, it's your choice. And it's in your power to stop doing it. I know this because I used to battle the same problem. But now, I don't. So if I can change, why can't you? Was I born with something that you don't have? Of course not. I simply made the choice to simply no longer beat myself up over mistakes or past experiences. And you can do the same. In fact, you can literally make that shift in an instant. What I recommend you do is actually learn the lessons from each experience. You see, when you have mistakes, first of all, I don't like using the word mistakes because that's just your interpretation. All that happened was an experience happened. You're adding a meaning to that event. Plain and simple, your experiences aren't good or bad, they're just experiences until you attach an interpretation and make it good or bad. What you want to do is, after you've had these mistakes or bad experiences, you want to discover the lesson that it taught you. Because every experience you have has a lesson. And oftentimes you're gonna keep making the same mistakes over and over again because you haven't taken the lesson, you haven't learned the lesson. You know what? Let me tell you a quick story that will just drive this freaking point home. So when I was recovering from being stabbed, I had these physical therapy exercises. And I told myself, you know what, today I'm gonna do them at the very end of my day. I got other stuff, I'm just gonna prioritize my other tasks. And at the end of the day, you probably know what happened. I was tired, I was exhausted, and I wasn't feeling motivated to do my physical therapy exercises. And I remember for the last hour that I was up before I went to bed, I felt like trash. I was like, why can't I do these things? I know I need to do them. I felt really down on myself, but I realized, I was like, okay, instead of beating myself up over not doing this, how can I use this to my advantage? And I realized, I was like, okay, there's a lesson to be learned here. If I tell myself I'm gonna do something and I wait till the end of the day, there's a very good chance I don't perform them. Then it dawned on me, I was like, okay, well, even though I didn't do it today, I learned the lesson that I need to perform these actions earlier in the day. And guess what happened? The next day, the first thing that I did when I woke up was my physical therapy exercises. And it just kept going on and on and on. So what I'm trying to say is, you may have experiences that you deem as negative, but you can turn them into a positive by learning the lesson. The lesson that will enable you to change your actions and behaviors and get the results you want, to progress your life forward. And while I recommend using this strategy for this program so you don't beat yourself up, you should do this in all areas of your life. Because it is power, and power will result in your life and your business flourishing and you being proud of yourself and you having this internal peace. Now, in just a moment, I'm gonna play one more video. Don't worry guys, this is the last one, but it's extremely powerful for reprogramming your subconscious to work with your conscious so that you consistently do the things you know you need to do without that internal battle. And if you fully understand this concept we're about to uncover, it has the power to take your business from stuck and you from frustrated to flourishing with ease. But before we start in today's lesson, I want to ask you something. Why do you think it is that you don't have the results that you desire in your business yet? Or why is it that some of your relationships aren't at the quality that you want them to be? Or why is it that you don't have your fitness goals yet, or you haven't gotten the ideal physique you want, or whatever your fitness goals are? Well, the simple truth is, it's because of who you have been. Really, it's the way in which you've been operating, I should say. Now I know you might be thinking, well, Adam, you know what? I couldn't get my ideal physique or hit my fitness goals because I was too tired. I have a lot on my plate. I couldn't prioritize it. Or I couldn't hit my goals in business because the economy took a hit, or I didn't have time because I had so many other tasks. But what you need to realize is, you are the person who created the exact circumstances that you currently face. If you don't have time, it's because you put yourself in this situation. You took on all these other tasks and responsibilities and left your business in the dump. I mean, think about it. Everyone has the same hours in a day. So why is it that you seem to have no time, but others, they have tons of free time? It's because you are the person that created your exact circumstances. And look, I know that might be a hard bullet to really take in, but it's the truth. And unless you accept this truth, you're gonna keep battling the same circumstances. The point I'm trying to get across here is you are the creator of your life. It's who you are being that creates the results you have. So if you want to get different results in your business, relationships, and life, then you have to start being a different type of person. Because make no mistake about it, your business and life are a reflection of who you have been. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, Adam, what do you mean when you say it's because of who I've been? Or I need to start being a different type of person. Let me ask you, have you been a committed person? At any given moment in your day, in the present moment, are you being a committed person? Because frankly, if you aren't being a committed person, you already know what's gonna happen. Yep, you're gonna fall back into your old patterns and ruts. And to be honest, you can look back at your own life and see how changing your actions and behaviors, it hasn't produced the results you want. So if you want to produce different results, you have to start being a different type of person. Let's actually take this in another route. You can kind of look at this as forming habits. You see, a lot of people, they do it, most people do, change their actions and behaviors to get different results. But they're not in the habit of sticking to their word to themselves. So it doesn't matter how many times they try changing their actions and behaviors, they have this underlying habit of not keeping their word to themselves. So it doesn't matter if they tell themselves, you know what, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna prospect more every day, whatever it is. They keep telling themselves they're gonna change their actions and behaviors, but there's underlying habits of not keeping their word to themselves that's gonna cause them to fall off their word to change. And that's kind of like these ways of being. You see, if you aren't being a committed person, you're gonna keep falling back into your old patterns and ruts. So I wanna ask you, are you truly being committed in your day-to-day life? And if not, or I should say more importantly, are you ready to start being a committed person? But look, I know this probably makes sense on some sort of level, but I wanna make sure this is really practical for you. So let's take a look at your commitments that you made last week for health and wellness, Maybe, I feel like I'm using the same example, but we're just gonna roll with it, because let's say you want to turbocharge your energy levels, your mental alertness and mood. You're committed to that. That's what you put down. Well, obviously a big factor in that is your nutrition. The majority of it's gonna be your nutrition, in fact. Well, let's say that you're going throughout your day, and for the past 3 days you've been crushing it, you've been eating super healthy, you feel good about yourself, But then let's say you have a long day at work. You come home and you're exhausted. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't been this tired in forever. But look, I don't want to cook, so I'm gonna take 1 day off. And you decide to order fast food. Well, this shows that you aren't being a committed person. And if you aren't being a committed person, well, guess what? You're not gonna get the same results as other entrepreneurs that are being a committed person. Entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Mark Cuban. You know what? This seems like a perfect time to go over the concept that I was about to give you in the beginning of the lesson. So here it is. It's called be, do, have. Most people, they operate backwards. They operate from have, do, be. Meaning, if I had $1 million, I'd do this and I'd do that, and I'd be this type of person. But the funny thing is, they act like the $1 million is gonna magically appear out of thin air, But unless you're first being that millionaire, doing what the millionaires would do, aka taking the same actions, operating the same way, being that type of person, then you'll have those results. But unless you're being that millionaire, you're never gonna get the same results they do. Obviously your actions are taking you down this path, while their actions are taking them down another path. So what does this really mean to you and your business? Well, again, it depends on you and your goals. But for the sake of this program, well, I'm guessing all of you want to get your revenue up. So ask yourself, are you being that 7-figure earner? Because frankly, every 7, 8, 9, 10, or even 11-figure entrepreneur, they are being a different type of person than the average entrepreneur. They're being committed, they're being responsible, they're being integral. You see, you can always focus on changing your actions and behaviors, but those doing activities are rendered useless if you aren't being a specific type of person. You know what? Let me try and give you an analogy here that might give you a different perspective. It's kind of like, let's say you went camping with a bunch of friends, and you brought a bucket for water. Yeah, in this analogy, in this scenario, no one came to camp in with water, so stick with me here. You brought a bucket for water, and there's a river down there. Well, you can go over there and be like, okay, I'm gonna focus on filling the bucket up. I'm gonna put as much water in there as possible so that I can bring it all back. Well, if you aren't being a balanced person, you're gonna spill all that water on your journey back. The point I'm trying to get across here is there are underlying ways of being that must be a part of your subconscious identity. AKA, you must focus every single day for about 2 to 3 months on being that type of person. And eventually, or I should say, the beauty in this is habits, man. We operate through habits. We talked about this last week. But essentially, every single day that you focus on ways of being, it's gonna get easier and easier. And eventually, it's gonna be like brushing your teeth. Do you ever really think about brushing your teeth, or do you simply do it? You simply do it, and that's because of your habit. So we wanna get these ways of being into a habit, and the only way to go about it is by enforced action, by commitment. So you have to decide right now if you're truly committed to becoming the person that will hit your goals. So as you go throughout your day, I really want you to reflect on who are you being? You know, if times get tough and you start skipping out on the things you know you need to do because of your energy levels, your emotions, or your circumstances, ask yourself, are you really being the person you need to be in order to hit your goals? Now look, I do understand that life, it can be tough, you know. We're not robots, we are humans, we have emotions. But one thing I want to mention is, in these moments of weakness, where you don't feel motivated, you have to realize that your brain is going to try and trick you. Because remember, your brain, it sees all your habits as a survival mechanism. And what happens is when you start trying to change your habits, you try and improve yourself by changing your habits, lots of times you can hear this voice in your head. And what it does is it tries tricking you. It tries telling you reasons logically why you shouldn't change. And look, lots of the times they are logical, but you have to understand that this is your brain trying to trick you. Your thoughts are not you. I mean, think about it. Your thoughts randomly pop up in your head. You're not in control of when they come up, and that's why so many people, they're just constantly being bombarded by thoughts. I mean, you are not the creator of your thoughts. They come into your head. So in these moments of weakness, where you lack motivation, you really have to ask yourself, how are you going to feel in 2, 3, or 4 years from now if your business is exactly where it is now? If you don't change anything and your business is still stuck? How are you going to feel if you're still this frustrated? How are you going to feel if you're still spending 8 to 12 hours a day only to get little growth? I mean, you likely know how you're going to feel, because every month that you don't change, all your problems continue to grow. How you feel about yourself diminishes, your self-worth, your confidence, your self-belief. It all gets pummeled. So don't let that happen to you. You are the creator of your life. You have to start being a different person in order to get different results. So I think you understand the main takeaway from this lesson, but there's still a few more things that I want to talk about before I let you go on to this week's lesson. And one of those is that you must be aware. You see, without awareness, transformation isn't possible. Random little scenario here, but let's say you pick your nose a ton, it's a nasty habit, you don't want it anymore. If you aren't aware that you even pick your nose as you go throughout your day, you aren't gonna be able to change that habit. Awareness is absolutely necessary if you want to create change or transformation. So with that being said, you may find yourself moving in a very high, fast pace. You know, maybe you're just going like from one activity to the next, and you don't have that calm, cool, and collected mind. Well, in this case, you need to make sure that you're aware. And what I would recommend that you do is have a morning routine. Spend 30 to 60 minutes in the morning to meditate, to stretch, to do breath work, to go on a walk, whatever it is. Because the reality is everyone is different, but you have to start learning how to ground yourself so that you can be aware. Because frankly, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you aren't aware of your actions and behaviors, this program isn't gonna get you the results you desire. I can't do the work for you. You have to be aware, you have to be committed, and you have to start being the person you want to be. Now, there's another way of being that every single billionaire on this planet has harnessed, and it's by being 100% responsible for all the results in your life. You see, most people, they love to play the victim game and blame others for why they haven't achieved their goals. You know, I couldn't grow my business to 500K a year because the dang economy, it took a hit. I couldn't work out because the gym was closed. I couldn't eat healthy because I didn't have any food to cook. Well, if you were 100% responsible, you would have gone to the grocery store to get food to cook. Or you would have done an at-home workout. The point is, when you blame an external factor for not getting your desired outcome or hitting your goals, well, you're losing all your power. Something that's out of your control ultimately is what dictates what you achieve in your life. How is that helping you? Is it enabling you to overcome the roadblocks so that you can feel good about yourself and progress your life in the right direction? Or is it enabling you to succumb to mediocrity, where you don't hit your goals, you feel weak, and you feel powerless? And more importantly, how are you going to feel in 2 years from now if your business and life are exactly where they currently are? Because you aren't being a responsible person. Don't let that be your story. Make the decision in this exact moment to be a responsible person. Especially when it comes to this program. If a roadblock or a hiccup arises, find a solution instead of making an excuse, because that will birth power, confidence, and self-love in yourself. I just want to say something, because the reality is this entire program can be boiled down to one habit that you want to form. It's a very powerful one, and we call it an underlying habit. Now, this habit is sticking to your word. I mean, think about it. What would your body look like right now if you kept your word to work out from last year? How much further along in your business or career would you be if you kept your word to be productive every single day? And how much better would you feel if you kept your word to go to bed early every single night? If you're in the habit of keeping your word to yourself, you'll effortlessly be able to attain any change you want in your life. Think about it this way. You likely brush your teeth every single night, regardless of how tired, lazy, or unmotivated you feel. Well, why is it that easy to brush your teeth, yet so difficult for you to do the things you know you need to do? Well, it's because you're in the habit of brushing your teeth, to the point where there's no internal battle, you simply do it without thinking. And that's the power of habits. Well, imagine if you were in the habit of keeping your word to yourself, to the point where when you tell yourself you'll do something, you simply do it, just as easy as it is for you to brush your teeth. Well, the simple truth is this can be your reality if you form the habit of sticking to your word. Essentially, you become like this Terminator in your life that executes with ease. And this is why I say it's an underlying habit, or a foundational habit. Because if you have this habit, you can effortlessly form any habit you want. And if you don't have this habit, well, you can't change anything in your life. If you tell yourself or someone that you're gonna do something, simply do it. Because if you do this for 15 days, you're gonna get to a point where the internal battles are very minimal. After 30 days, you don't have an internal battle, and you easily stick to your word when you tell yourself you're gonna do something. And after 60 days, it is effortless. You will be 1,000% more productive than you have ever been. You'll be able to form any new habit that you want. And I guarantee that your business and life will flourish, and you will feel more confident, worthy, and proud of yourself than you have ever been. And the reality is, you can't even possibly fathom what I'm talking about, because you haven't experienced this power for yourself. But hear my words when I tell you this is literally everything you want and need in your life. So be a conqueror and do what you say you'll do starting now. And regardless of how you feel, you simply execute, okay? Now, in order for you to successfully do this, there's a few hacks I want to mention. First of all, only tell yourself you're going to do something if you're actually going to do it. That's the most important thing, is being aware and making sure you only tell yourself the right promises. Now, the second step is to heavily envision what life will look like before you declare you'll do something. So for example, if you tell yourself you're going to work out every single day for the next 7 days, okay, well, run through tomorrow in your head. What is that day going to look like? And when are you going to work out? Because let's say you're busy from 5 a.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. Are you really gonna work out? Is that something you wanna tell yourself you'll do? Probably not. Now, the third step is when you envision yourself working out, you wanna feel the emotion of how proud you are. Because if you vividly envision your future experiences and feel the positive emotions, well, science actually shows us, or the data I should say, that turning your vision into your reality grows by 200 to 1,000%, depending on how deeply you feel the positive emotions attached. Now, the fourth step is you want to see if at any point in your week there's a roadblock. Again, this kind of ties into like the second point we talked about. Let's say that you tell yourself you're going to eat healthy for the next 7 days, but on the weekend coming up, you're going to Vegas. Do you think you're really going to eat healthy when you're in Vegas partying? Probably not. So what you want to do to avoid breaking your word to yourself is declare to yourself that you're going to eat healthy for the 5 days leading up to Vegas. Simply put, you have to be responsible and brainstorm how to successfully uphold your new commitments or these new promises that you made to yourself. Then make sure that your commitments, they're non-negotiable. After you run through this and you're like, okay, for the next 5 days, I'm gonna eat healthy, there's no roadblocks, then it has to be non-negotiable in your mind. Almost like you're gonna die if you don't do it, okay? Because nothing is practical until it's non-negotiable. That's another way of saying, or until you're 100% committed, okay? The second underlying habit that you wanna start forming is conquering your monkey brain. Now you might be wondering, Adam, what does this even mean? So let's say that you're about to go watch TV, and then a thought pops up in your mind, oh shoot, I need to put the wash in the dryer. Well, most people will tell themselves, I'll get it at commercial, or I'll get it after I watch TV, I'm comfortable. Well, then what's happening is you're actually forming the habit of letting your emotions dictate your actions. Now in the future, when a thought pops up in your head of something that you should do, something that would improve your life, a good habit that you want to form, well, you're not gonna go do it. You're less likely to go do it because that's the habit you've been training yourself. A thought pops up in my mind, I should go do something? Nah, I'm ignoring it. Is that really the habit you want? Is that gonna lead you to getting the changes you want in your life? Obviously not. So what you wanna do is when these thoughts pop up in your head that you should do something, you should instantly go do it without thinking about it. And that's the crucial part here. And if you commit to forming this underlying habit for just 30 days, you'll reach a point where you simply do the things you know you need to do, or you do the things you know you should be doing, or you tell yourself you'll do. And the reason why this habit usually only takes about 30 days to form rather than the 60 days of most habits is because how habits work is all through repetition. And you'll likely be performing this action or forming this habit more frequently than your other habits. So if you're performing more reps on it, it's gonna form quicker. Simply put, what I'm really trying to say is these small decisions in each day, you need to conquer. Because every day that you conquer them, it's gonna get easier and easier until it becomes second nature and effortless. Now, there's one last thing that I wanna mention before we wrap up this video, and that's about doing the homework below. And basically, there's only one lesson attached. Should probably realistically only take like 30 minutes, somewhere in that territory. But you really wanna do this as soon as possible. And the reason why we have this homework specifically attached is because a lot of this lesson that we just went over, it probably resonated with you, at least I hope it did. You're feeling motivated to change yourself. But what this lesson does is it really drives these points deep into your subconscious mind. It makes it so that your subconscious uses these lessons coherently with your conscious mind so that you start implementing it, you start being the conqueror that you need to be. So you start effortlessly being committed. It's gonna make it a lot more easier for you. Simply put, what I'm trying to say is do this freaking homework and put good intention to it. You see, you could rush through the homework just to complete it and be like, oh Adam, I did my homework. But you're cheating yourself. The real power comes from putting in quality work with everything in this program. What do I mean by that? Well, when you do this homework, have no phone, have no distractions, be in a room alone where your full undivided attention can be on the homework. Because it's all about the quality. The more focused and in the moment you are as you go through this program and do the homeworks, the more it's gonna resonate with you, the more it's gonna reprogram your subconscious mind to work with your conscious mind, and the easier the change will be for you. So right now is your first test. Are you truly committed? If so, go prove it. Go do this homework right now and send it to me today. Because if you don't complete this homework, well, guess what? You're not committed. And if you aren't committed, you won't get the change you want. So this is your moment of truth. These are the small battles that I was just talking about. So are you gonna conquer them in your life? Or are you gonna keep being the same person you've been and keep getting the same results that you've been getting? The choice is yours. So I hope you choose to be a conqueror, operate through commitment, operate with integrity, operate by being responsible, and most importantly, start being the person you want to be moving forward. Then do the homework. It's only gonna take about 30 minutes, maybe 60 tops. And if you can't do it within this exact second, well, guess what? I'm only giving you 24 hours. You're watching this video? Guess what? We have a time tracking software for this. So you have 24 hours from now to complete that homework. If you can't put in 30 minutes to do this homework, you're not committed. This isn't your priority and you're not gonna get results. Make that shift in how you're operating now, and I'll see you inside the homework. So here's the deal. I was literally charging $7,000 for this program and working solely with entrepreneurs, which you can see here. But a few weeks ago, someone that's been following me for a while told me that he couldn't afford my prices, but he desperately needed my help. So I gave him a discount, he harnessed our mind linking method, and it was like a flip switch in his brain. He started feeling more motivated, hitting the gym consistently, had way more energy than ever, ran the fastest mile that he's ran in literally 6 years, and most importantly, he quit his soul-sucking job, started landing paid musician gigs, which was his passion, and recording multiple tracks, and simply feeling unstoppable. Now, his success made me realize that there are so many more people that I could be helping. So with that being said, I want to give you a free 7-day trial to our program where we'll help you harness our mind linking method. It's the same program that you saw everyone in this video get these crazy results very quickly and with minimal effort exerted. Now, after the 7 days, you will be charged $47 per month unless you cancel before then. And by the way, canceling is going to be very easy. All you need to do is simply email us. There's not going to be any BS or hurdles. You're not going to have to go run 10 miles, watch all this video content. We're not going to ignore your emails. Like, there's no BS. If you don't think that this was the best program that you've ever been in your entire life, or you didn't notice a huge change in your motivation, productivity, and how you feel about yourself in those 7 days, just simply email us. There's no BS. And look, if you sign up today, not only will I give you this program that we previously sold for $7,000, but I'll give you access to our total body transformation program. That's another program we previously sold for $4,000. So if you're serious about leveling up yourself, becoming the man you have the potential to be, and building the life you know you're destined to live, well then take action now and sign up for this free trial. Look, the reality is the longer it takes for you to kill procrastination, the harder it will be. Plus, your family's the one that's going to have to suffer for you not being the man you want to be. You see, every single day, you're not going to be that present father, the present husband. You're not going to be able to support them and give them the life that you want to give them. Until one day you wake up and realized your life passed you by. Imagine being on your deathbed and looking back at your life, being unhappy with what you accomplished, how you spent your time, and who you became. That's torture because you can't go back in time and change your actions. You'll be stuck living with the consequences of your actions. And I'm speaking from personal experience. You see, I was stabbed in the throat, arm, and chest while at a movie theater, and I woke up 7 days later living off tubes. Literally, if you unplugged them, you unplugged my life. And ultimately, I was reflecting, and I was just disgusted with how I lived my life. I took a job that I didn't really care about, didn't align with my passion, just because I wanted to play it safe. I never rode a motorcycle because of fear of what might happen if I were to get on one. But look, the reality is your life could end any day, any moment. So don't wait for your life to magically change. You have to seize every moment and take what you want in life, creating a bright future for your family where you can take them on nice trips, take them on these dinners, and be the husband and father you aspire to be, and be proud of yourself, to hold your head high and proud of the man you've become. Now look, I know you probably have doubts, fears, and you want to exit this video without taking action and signing up. But that is literally the lack of alignment of your two minds trying to sabotage you yet again. So the question is, are you going to continue to let that voice control your life and continue feeling terrible about yourself? Or are you ready to take control, to become the man you have the potential to be, and to build the life that you always know you were destined to live? Click the button below now because this offer literally might be gone tomorrow. I seriously might go back to charging over $7,000 and working strictly with entrepreneurs again. This isn't fake scarcity, I'm just being honest. So take action now or pay the consequences of letting your potential in your life rot away. Look, how long have you been telling yourself that you'll change? How many times have you said, oh, tomorrow or next week I'll get it together? We both know that's a lie. and deep down, you know it too. So don't let that be your story. Look below this video, hit that button, and sign up, and I'll see you inside our program.